Imagine waking up to a normal day only to find the 12 giant oval objects have invaded the Earth. What are they, and why have they chosen Earth? Stick around to unfold the mystery behind the arrival. 2016. The movie begins with a linguistic and language professor, Dr. Louise Banks, narrating her life story. As Louise talks, we see her vision showing how she lost her teenage daughter Hannah to a fatal disease. Unlike other days at the university, today is quite strange for Louise, as the class is almost empty and students are more attentive to their phones listening to breaking news. When she turns on the television, the broadcast of an alien invasion is all over the news channels. It turns out that 40 minutes ago, 8 1,500 feet tall objects, presumably spacecrafts, landed in as many as 8 other locations around the world. Due to the ongoing stress situation, the students and the staff evacuated the university and returned to their houses for security purposes. 8 hours have passed after the landing of strange objects, but there are still no signs of first contact. The spaceship number has escalated to 12, with 2 in Russian airspace and others in America, China, Australia, and other major world countries. The military as well as scientists haven't got any information about the reason behind the vessel's locations. After a day, the president declares a state of emergency. The borders are closed and flights have been grounded, stranding millions of travelers. 2 days after the arrival of unknown objects, Louise, who is known to have helped the U.S. Army intelligence decipher a Farsi text, is once again approached by Colonel G.T. Weber and his army men. This time, the military needs Louise's assistance in understanding the alien's language. However, Louise claims that it is impossible for her to translate from an audio file. At first, Colonel refuses to allow Louise to interact with the aliens, but after realizing she is on top of everyone's list regarding translations, Colonel has to do whatever it takes to make things normal again. In the chopper, Louise is introduced to Ian Donnelly, a theoretical physicist from Los Alamos who will be working with her on this mission soon. They arrive at the base near the enormous oval-shaped spaceship. Before entering the shell, Louise and Ian are given an immunization dose that covers a battery of bacterial threats. Scientists from the other 11 landing sites have entered the shell and returned safely, clearly showing that the aliens have no intentions of harming humanity. As it is a worldwide emergency, all 12 countries are in constant contact to update each other regarding the progress. Without wasting time, Louisa, Ian, Colonel, and 3 other specialists enter the spaceship through a bottom door that opens after every 18 hours. As gravity becomes nominal in the antechamber, the team can walk on the ship perpendicular to the Earth's surface. The passageway opens to an empty area facing a glass wall separating humans from the aliens. Although humans cannot get to the other side of the glass, they can peacefully communicate with them in their language, which obviously they don't understand. As the team arrives, 2 octopus shaped 7-legged creatures later called heptapods appear and begin to greet in their language. Even after listening to the happy voice in the chamber, Louise is unable to crack it. Meanwhile, the violence continues to spread across the U.S. In the wake of the 12 landings, the president declared a mandatory dusk to dawn curfew after the crackdown by the National Guard failed to prevent a 3rd night of looting across the country. After 18 hours, the team once again gets ready to communicate with the aliens, but this time Louisa plans to take a visual aid with her. When Colonel inquires about this, Louisa claims that she can never be able to speak their words if they are talking. However, she thinks the heptapods might have some written language or basis for visual communication. As Louisa has expected, the heptapods respond by writing words with black smoke coming out of their tentacles. The team is stunned to see such an incredible response from the aliens, but the problems are yet to be sorted out. First, the language is entirely out of this world and is quite challenging for Louisa to decipher. Secondly, Colonel doesn't want to rely only on possibilities because he has to brief a room full of men who want to get information much more than just symbol. To buy more time from the Colonel, Louisa narrates how Captain James Cook's ship in 1770 ran aground off the coast of Australia, where they met the Aboriginal people. One of the sailors pointed at the animals that hop around and put their babies in their pouches, and he asked what they were. The Aborigine said kangaroo. It was until later that they learned that kangaroo means I don't understand. Colonel finally realizes that in order to get the correct answers, they have to spend more time analyzing the aliens' language in depth. In addition to the ongoing stress in the country, the CIA has to deal with foreign leaders and their policies. While telling Louisa about the situation, CIA officer Agent Halpern unfolds how the Chinese military chief General Sheng is trying to conceal their information regarding the heptapods, but this is not the only problem. Whatever Sheng does, at least 4 other nations will follow, meaning Colonel and his crew will learn considerably less and have to wait longer to understand the heptapods to develop enough vocabulary with the aliens. Louisa starts teaching them the fundamentals of the English language, and in response she gets their version of the Words written in symbols. Realizing that the heptapods are getting confused, Louisa undresses her protective clothing and approaches close to the glass wall, developing a direct bond with the aliens. Although Louisa risked contamination and violated the protocols, the colonel still allowed her to continue with the mission. While the research continues for over a month, Louisa keeps getting visions of her deceased daughter. On the other hand, as a physicist, Ian conducts his own research and learns facts about the heptapods in their spacecraft. The shell doesn't emit any waste gas or radiation, and its chemical composition is still unknown. Assuming that the ships communicate with each other, they do so without detection. Even the world's most decorated experts are unable to crack the myth. Behind the parking of all 12 pods. Unlike all written human languages, heptapods writing is semasiographic, conveying meaning without representing the sound like their ship or bodies. Their written language has no forward or backward directions. Linguists call this non-linear orthography, which raises the question, is this how they think? After Louise was done teaching the simplest replies, the next task was to expand vocabulary, which could easily take another month, while the scientists are doing their best to communicate with the aliens. The first photograph of the creature goes viral, compelling the citizens to protest against the government's handling of the crisis. Unlike Louisa and Ian, other military soldiers are affected by the hatred spread by thousands of citizens. In addition to solving Earth's major problem, Louisa faces mental challenges as she keeps experiencing visions of her daughter from birth to death. One day, Louisa is called by the colonel and is ordered to decipher General Xiang's phone call. After listening to the recording, Louisa informs the army how General Xiang's team is using a game to converse with their heptapods. It turns out that their every conversation would be a game, meaning every idea would be expressed through opposition, victory, and defeat before a deadly war is initiated. America has to upgrade its conversation with the heptapods. When Louisa asks about the aliens' purpose on Earth, the creatures respond, offer weapons. The CIA official thinks they should now prepare for war instead of negotiating with the heptapods, but Louisa disagrees with the statement. She believes that the heptapods have misunderstood the difference between a tool and a weapon, so they must clarify before jumping to a conclusion. After getting the message about weapons from the heptapods, China decides to attack the aliens as they withdraw their scientists from the international mission. Their ally countries do the same and cut off all their communication. Every nation eventually stops talking to one another and begins developing its own strategy concerning Louisa, who thinks they should all work together to understand what the aliens are actually saying. Against Colonel's instructions, Louisa and Ian return to the spaceship, where they see other team members clearing the area. Although all escort units are ordered to cease any activity related to the mission, some military soldiers, deeply affected by their people's hatred towards the aliens, decide to explode the ship using a bomb. Unaware of the fact that a bomb has been placed in the spacecraft, Louisa and Ian enter the pod and begin questioning again. Meanwhile, Colonel sends his crew to stop the scientists from negotiating with the heptapods. Before the bomb can go off, the heptapods write a network of words on the glass and throw Louisa and Ian out of the shell, saving their life. Consequently, Louisa suffers a concussion, but manages to survive the attack before the scientists can revisit the shell. The aliens leave from the ground and suspend their ships in the sky. China declares war against the aliens following the failure of diplomatic efforts of the United Nations. China has confirmed that its language experts have delivered an ultimatum at the Shanghai site. Being on the offensive side, they are now positioning the military to blow the alien vessel right out of the sky. General Xiang, chairman of the People's Liberation Army, says the aliens have 24 hours to leave the Chinese territory or face destruction, and he has urged other world leaders to unite with China and take a similar stance. Meanwhile, Louisa and Ian are trying hard to crack the last elongated message from the heptapods. After hours of constant research, Ian has finally concluded that the proportion of negative space in the data in the statement suggests that the aliens are trying to interpret one of 12. They believe the aliens are attempting to convince them that all 12 nations must pool their knowledge in order to comprehend the purpose of their presence. While the team is discussing the possible solution, Louisa experiences visions that lead her outside the base and inside the alien small pod that is specifically landed to take Louisa. While communicating with the heptapods, Louisa learns that the aliens are here to offer a gift, not weapons, that will allow humanity to help them cope with a global issue 3,000 years later. Just then, Louisa sees visions of her daughter again. revealing that it is not the past, but the events from the future. She was neither married nor had a kid all this time. What she experienced was the non-linear time perception gift of seeing the future given by the aliens in the form of their language. Louise returns to the base and tries to make Colonel understand the aliens' real reason behind the invasion. However, Colonel has ordered his crew to evacuate the base. Suddenly Louise sees another event from the future, a post-alien invasion party in which she is approached by General Sheng. The Chinese leader reveals how he received a phone call from Louisa 18 months ago that changed his mind and caused a unification of the entire world. Seeing this, Louisa sprints inside the base, steals a phone and calls General Sheng. After seeing visions once again, Louisa manages to learn General Sheng's dying wife's words. When she calls Sheng and speaks his wife's last words, the leader is compelled to believe what Louisa has to say. While Louisa is talking to General Sheng, we see the military trying to stop her. Soon the Chinese official understands the real purpose of the aliens' occupy on Earth and thus calls off his plan to bombard the shells. After General Sheng allows his army to share their heptapods information with the other countries, the aliens' mission is accomplished and thus they all vanish and return to their planet. All 12 countries unite, allowing humanity to understand the new language and become long-living, prosperous species that may aid other extraterrestrial beings in the future. In the end, we learn that Hannah is Ian and Louise's future daughter, revealing that the duo will fall in love in the future. Even knowing that her daughter will die of cancer, Louise will choose to have her. By the time Ian learns that Louise knew about Hannah's cancer the entire time, he won't be able to forgive her, resulting in their separation. The movie ends with Louise embracing Ian while accepting the future that lies ahead of her. That was all from the video. I hope you like it. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button to help us out. Also leave a comment if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Until next time, take care.